The dance request. The silence that fell over Skirich Cloud City's most exclusive restaurant was so thick it seemed to have physical weight. Conversation ceased, cutlery froze midair, and dozens of eyes, both slitted reptilian and round human, fixed on the small space between the pristinely set tables. 10-year-old Lucien Drakenfire was visibly shaking, his wings encased in lightweight titanium braces that quivered as he reached out to Daria Jensen, the restaurant's only human waitress. The anti-gravity orchestra had just begun a soft melody, and the young dragon's impulse to ask someone to dance came without warning. "Sir, control your son," Manager Thornwood's sharp voice cut through the silence, his own silver-scaled wings fluttering in agitation. "That's inappropriate. This is not a dance hall, and our employees are not here to entertain dragon children." Riker Drakenfire, CEO of Drakenfire Interplanetary and one of the wealthiest dragons in the solar system, swallowed hard. It was the first time he had taken Lucien out to dinner in public since the atmospheric turbulence accident that had partially paralyzed his wings 2 years earlier. A mistake he would not repeat. "Lucien, sit down," the order came low but firm, a puff of steam escaping with his words. Daria remained motionless, her gaze shifting between the manager, the billionaire dragon, and the young dragon whose clawed hand was still hanging in the air. In her 5 years working at Skirich, floating 10,000 feet above Old Manhattan, she had learned to become invisible, especially to customers like Drakenfire. "Mr. Thornwood, I'm leaving. My shift is over," her voice sounded calm as she removed her hover apron and placed it on the tray. Then, to everyone's amazement, she smiled at Lucien and took his clawed hand. "I can't dance in an apron." The restaurant held its breath as the impossible happened, a human waitress accepting a dragon child's invitation to dance. The dance. Riker stood up abruptly, his massive wings extending slightly, causing nearby patrons to flinch. "What do you think you're doing?" Daria held his fiery gaze. "I'm accepting an invitation, sir." Before anyone could interfere, Lucien took a hesitant step forward. His feet dragged painfully across the floor, and the titanium of his wing braces screeched. Daria didn't try to guide him or hurry him, she simply adjusted her own pace to his. "She's getting fired tomorrow," whispered a dragoness at the next table, her jeweled horns catching the light from the floating chandeliers. Riker watched, paralyzed. A sudden memory struck him, Eliza, his late mate, dancing with Lucien in the crystalline great room of their floating mansion. "It's not about perfection," she had said. "It's about connection." As Daria followed Lucien's clumsy steps, something in the young dragon's eyes changed. Fear gave way to intense concentration, shame gave way to shy pride. For the first time since the accident, he wasn't being guided, helped, or corrected. He was leading. "Mr. Drakenfire," the manager's voice interrupted his thoughts, "I can assure you this will never happen again. She will be properly disciplined." The dragon manager's scales had turned an embarrassed purple. Riker didn't respond. The entire restaurant seemed to wait for his reaction. After all, a dragon of his power could end anyone's career with a single word, human or dragon alike. Employees stopped what they were doing, other customers watched with morbid curiosity. But Lucien's smile was the only thing that echoed in his mind. Daria led the young dragon back to the table after 3 dance steps. "Thank you for asking me," she said formally, as if speaking to an adult. "It was an honor." When she turned to leave, Riker stopped her. "Wait." His voice sounded different, almost unrecognizable to himself. "What's your full name?" "Daria Jensen, sir." "The summons." Riker nodded slowly. "Daria Jensen," he repeated, as if memorizing it. Then he took a business card from inside his tailored jacket and held it out to her. "My office tomorrow at 10 a.m. Drakenfire Tower, 500th floor." The entire restaurant held its breath. Daria accepted the card without showing any emotion, but her hand trembled slightly. "Dad," Lucien called as she walked away, "why did you do that?" The question hung in the air like an accusation. Riker watched his son and, for a brief moment, saw not just the hatchling Eliza had left in his care, but a complete dragon whose wants and needs he had systematically ignored for 2 years. As dinner proceeded in awkward silence, no one noticed Daria's glance before she left, not one of fear or resignation, but of calm determination that contrasted with the storm brewing in Riker Drakenfire's eyes. The lobby of Drakenfire Tower gleamed with its transparent aerogel and floating obsidian walls, reflecting the morning sunlight as it pierced through the clouds. Daria Jensen immediately felt out of place in her best outfit, a navy blue skirt and white blouse bought on sale. The dragons passing by wore clothes that probably cost more than her annual rent in Lower Cloud District. Daria Jensen to see Mr. Drakenfire, she said to the receptionist, a sleek green dragoness who examined her with a clinical gaze before making a call. 500th floor. Miss Windrest will see you up. Gravity tube elevator. Daria took a deep breath, clutching her worn purse to her chest. It wasn't fear she felt, it was a quiet determination that came from having faced worse. Much worse. Miss Windrest was a dragoness in her 40s with amber scales and a sharp gaze. Mr. Drakenfire is in a hollow conference. Please follow me. As she walked through the corridor with its transparent floor showing Cloud City below, Daria felt the curious stares of dragon employees. A human being escorted through the executive offices was rare enough to cause speculation. The offer. He had you fired, didn't he? Windrest asked suddenly when they were alone in a waiting room. It happens. Powerful clients call, and people like you lose their jobs. People like me? Daria raised an eyebrow. You know what I mean. Windrest adjusted her ocular enhancers. Employees who don't know their place in the species hierarchy. Daria smiled, not amused. And where exactly would that be? Before Windrest could answer, her comm scale glowed. He'll see you now. Riker Drakenfire's office took up half the floor. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Cloud City looked like a distant playground, with anti-grav vehicles weaving between floating structures. The dragon stood gazing out at the city as if it were his personal property. Mr. Drakenfire, Daria greeted him formally. Riker turned, his face a mask of studied control. Miss Jensen. Thank you for coming. He pointed to a chair, but remained standing himself. I have a proposition for you. Daria sat, maintaining eye contact. I'm listening. My son needs someone. Not a therapist, not a physical trainer, not another dragon telling him what he can't do. Riker's voice grew quieter. He needs someone who sees him as he is, not as what he's lost. And you think that's me? I think, Riker said, moving to sit across from her, that you're the first person in 2 years who treated him like a normal child. Do you know what that's worth to a father? Daria studied his face, seeing past the corporate mask to something rawer underneath. What exactly are you offering, Mr. Drakenfire? Companion. Tutor. Friend. Whatever he needs. Riker slid a contract across the desk. Full-time position. Salary that's substantial. Daria glanced at the numbers and her eyes widened slightly. It was more than she'd make in 5 years at the restaurant. There's just one condition, Riker continued. You treat him exactly the way you did last night. No special handling, no pity, no walking on eggshells around his disability. Can you do that? The new beginning. Daria looked at the contract, then back at Riker. Mr. Drakenfire, with respect, I don't think you're hiring me for Lucien. I think you're hiring me for yourself. The dragon's carefully maintained composure cracked slightly. Excuse me. A father who's forgotten how to connect with his son. Who's so afraid of his child getting hurt again that he's wrapped him in titanium and isolation. Daria leaned forward. I don't need your money to treat your son with dignity, sir. That should be a given. Riker stared at her for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed, a sound rusty from disuse. My mate used to talk to me like that. Smart woman. She was. His expression softened. She would have loved what you did last night. Daria picked up the contract. I'll take the job, Mr. Drakenfire. But not because of the salary. Because Lucien deserves to feel normal, and maybe you deserve to remember what it's like to be a father instead of just a protector. 6 months later, the floating gardens of the Drakenfire estate echoed with laughter. Lucien, his wing braces upgraded but still present, was teaching Daria a dragon children's game that involved floating orbs and quick reflexes. His movements were still awkward, but his confidence had grown immeasurably. Riker watched from the crystal balcony, a cup of thermal coffee cooling in his hands. The reports on his desk could wait. Board meetings could be rescheduled. For the first time in 2 years, his son was truly happy. "Dad!" Lucien called out, his voice bright with excitement. "Come play with us." And for the first time in 2 years, Riker Drakenfire put down his work and joined his son in play. Daria smiled as she watched the powerful dragon awkwardly chase floating orbs, his massive wings creating small windstorms that sent them spiraling in all directions. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't graceful. But it was real. And sometimes, Daria thought as she watched father and son laugh together, that's exactly what healing looks like. The end.